You spent 30 years building what you thought was a fortress. 3 retirement accounts, each one carefully funded, each one promising freedom. And then one afternoon, you pull $20,000 for a family trip. Just $20,000, but the IRS sees 32. Your Medicare premium doubles the following year. And that penalty, it doesn't expire. It compounds year after year because you touched the wrong bucket first. This isn't about bad luck. It is a system designed to punish the obvious choice. Most people retire, look at their accounts, and ask one question: which one has the most money? They pull from that because it feels logical. Every dollar you pull triggers a different tax event. Some dollars are invisible to the IRS. Some wake up every federal trap at once. And the traps aren't small. There are 3 that matter, and they're all connected. In the United States, your Social Security benefits can be taxed at 0%, or 50% or 85% at the federal level. Not your income, your benefits. The money you paid in for 40 years. Whether it gets taxed depends on something called combined income. That is your adjusted gross income, plus any tax-free interest, plus half of your Social Security. Those thresholds were set in the 1980s. They have never been adjusted for inflation, not once. Every year, more retirees cross into the tax zone without changing a single thing about their spending. And here is the part that breaks people. A small IRA withdrawal, say $2,000. It doesn't just add $2,000 to your taxable income. It can push you over a threshold and suddenly make another chunk of your Social Security taxable. And it gets worse because once your income crosses certain levels, Medicare notices. They don't just tax you more, they charge you more for the insurance itself. It is called IRMAA, Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. In 2025, if your modified adjusted gross income hits $106,000 or $212,000 filing jointly, your Medicare premiums don't just go up, they jump in tiers. Cross one of those thresholds by a single dollar, and you're paying hundreds more per month per person. The cruelest part is that IRMAA looks backward 2 years. That Roth conversion you did at 68 to feel smart. The bill shows up at 70. Then the forced liquidation starts. Early 70s, the exact age depends on when you were born. But it is coming. Required minimum distributions. The IRS stops asking nicely. Every year, you must pull money from your traditional IRA and 401k, whether you need it or not. Those withdrawals are ordinary income. If you've been ignoring your tax deferred accounts, letting them grow, because growth feels like winning, you've actually been building a tax bomb. Let's make this concrete with the brackets that actually matter. In 2025, married couples filing jointly stay in the 12% bracket, from $23,851 up to $96,950 of taxable income. The 22% bracket runs from $96,951 to $26,700. That $96,950 line is INS T just a bracket edge. It is a decision point. Every dollar you pull from a traditional IRA that pushes you over that line costs you 10 cents more in federal tax, but it also starts activating the combined income formula for Social Security taxation. You're not just climbing a bracket, you're opening a trap door. Now compare that to the 0% capital gains rate. If your other income is low enough, married couples can realize up to roughly $96,700 in long-term capital gains and qualified dividends in 2025 and pay 0 federal tax on it. 0, not reduced, not deferred, gone. That is the difference between pulling from a taxable brokerage account and pulling from an IRA. One costs you nothing. The other costs you twice. Here's the question nobody asks correctly. You've got 3 accounts: taxable brokerage, traditional IRA, and Roth IRA. You need $40,000 this year. Which account do you touch first? Most people pull from the IRA because it feels like the retirement account, or they avoid the Roth because they want to preserve it. Both instincts are expensive. A dollar from your IRA gets taxed as ordinary income. It pushes you toward higher brackets and increases Social Security taxation and moves you closer to IRMAA tiers. A dollar from your Roth if you've met the age and 5-year rule. It does none of that. It is invisible to the combined income formula, invisible to IRMAA calculations, completely tax-free. The general order that wins looks like this. Start with taxable brokerage and cash, smartly. Use the 0% capital gains window while your other income is still low. Then do controlled IRA withdrawals and Roth conversions up to a target tax bracket, usually the top of the 12% bracket before Social Security starts. Fill that bracket intentionally. Don't waste it. Every dollar of IRA space you don't use in your 60s is a dollar that gets forced out at higher rates in your 70s. After Social Security starts, your goal shifts. Now you're managing around the combined income formula and IRMAPA look-back periods. So here is the real test. Go look at your accounts right now. How much is sitting in traditional IRAs and 401ks? How much in Roth and how much in taxable brokerage? If the majority is in tax-deferred accounts and you're already past 60, you're sitting on the wrong side of the math. Let's be clear about what is actually happening in your 60s. You've stopped earning. Social Security hasn't kicked in yet, or you're delaying it because some calculator told you the math works better at 70. Medicare isn't charging you IRMAA surcharges yet because your income looks low on paper. This is the window, not a golden window, a narrow one. And what you're really doing during these years is prepaying taxes on money the IRS was going to force out of you anyway. Take a couple. Call them Tom and Linda, 67 and 65, married, no pension. They've got $500,000 in a taxable brokerage account, $700,000 in traditional IRAs and 401ks, and $300,000 in Roth IRAs. If they claim Social Security right now, they'd pull in $48,000 a year combined, but Tom's waiting until 70 because his benefit jumps. They want $90,000 a year after tax to live on, and they're healthy. They expect to make it into their 80s. They'd like to leave something for the kids. So Tom and Linda are shrinking that pile now on their terms, except it is not really their terms. It is just the least bad option in a game where every move costs something. They're converting traditional IRA money into Roth money, paying tax today at 12 or 22%, betting that is cheaper than whatever the forced withdrawals will cost them later. And they're right. Now Tom hits 70 and Social Security turns on. Suddenly, they've got $48,000, maybe more if Tom delayed, flowing in every year whether they need it or not. That is new taxable income. It doesn't replace the IRA, it stacks on top of it. And here is the kicker. Up to 85% of that Social Security benefit can be taxed as ordinary income depending on what else they pull. Welcome to the tax torpedo. Tom and Linda knew this was coming. That is why they burned through the taxable account first and shrank the IRA early. Because now, in their 70s, they're pulling from the Roth tax-free with no required minimums. It just sits there compounding while they pull what they need. That $300,000 Roth account is the only pile the IRS can't touch. But they only have it because they paid tax on it earlier, either when they contributed or when they converted. Tom and Linda did everything right. They delayed Social Security. They filled low brackets early, and they protected the Roth. And because of that, they'll end up with hundreds of thousands more after tax over their retirement than if they just pulled from the IRA first and hoped for the best. So let's make this executable. 6 steps. Same 3 pieces of paper every January. First, write down what is locked in, like Social Security, whatever shows up, whether you touch an account or not. Second, write down what you actually need to spend, not what some calculator says, what you're going to spend. If you're seeing grandkids, fixing the roof, or taking that trip, put it on the page. Third, subtract fixed income from spending. Fourth, pick your target tax bracket for the year. Look at where 12% ends and 22% begins for your filing status. In 2025, you need to know that line. Fifth, fill the gap in order. Most years, that means enough IRA withdrawals or Roth conversions to stay inside your chosen bracket without triggering extra Social Security tax or crossing an IRMAA threshold. The rest comes from your taxable brokerage, keeping most gains in the 0% long-term capital gains zone when possible. Only touch Roth if you need to dodge a higher bracket or a Medicare premium spike. Sixth, recheck mid-year if something big shifts. A property sale, inheritance, or a large medical bill. Any of those can change the optimal mix. Yes, this sounds like work, and it is. But after 2 years, it becomes rhythm. You're not guessing. You're placing stepping stones. Rush to the wrong rock. You get soaked. Place each step with care. You cross safely, and maybe even enjoy the view. Most people don't lose their retirement to bad investments. They lose it to bad sequencing. They empty the wrong bucket first, and by the time they realize it, the tax bill is already locked in. If you want, drop in the comments what mix of accounts you're working with. Tax-deferred accounts, Roth, and taxable. A future video can walk through withdrawal examples that look more like your situation.